can bear with us for a little while longer. And it's about the refugee crisis, so it's something of concern to everyone here. Loving one's neighbor as you love oneself. And the speaker, another gentleman, Ayman Zohry. Yes. The migration crisis in the Mediterranean is the title of his talk. And Ayman has a PhD from the University of Sussex. He's an expert on population and migration studies, and he's based in Cairo, Egypt. He's the founding president of the Egyptian Society for Migration Studies. The migration crisis in the Mediterranean.
As an Egyptian tradition, I should thank everyone who planned for the conference, for this successful conference. In fact, it's the presentation quality was very, very surprising, very, very intimidating in the discussion, as well as the preparations and the atmosphere and the good chance to know new colleagues and to communicate, which is I think the most important thing of participating in such conferences. So it's not only the content, because the content now can be uploaded to the internet, but the human interaction is more important in this concern. In fact, talking about the human interaction, also we talk about the human agony of refugees and internally displaced people in Syria. Personally, of course, I sympathize with them, but this is a sort of scientific presentation, so it's more factual than judgmental. Migration crisis in the Mediterranean. Here, actually, I mean the Eastern Mediterranean region, with the news coming from Syria every day and the statistics of refugees and internally displaced. In fact, I tell you something, that when I started preparing this presentation about 1 month ago, the numbers that I consulted from the UNHCR statistics have changed in these 4 weeks. And yesterday I adjusted my presentation to account for the new statistics available in the UNHCR website. So, which means that we're talking about an evolving issue. So statistics here are indicative rather than solid, to build solid facts or to build solid conclusions on them. Anyway, because of the time constraint and the fact that I'm the last presenter of the day, I know that you're very tired, but so that I converted the textual presentation to just a few images. In fact, as an expert in the field, I'm very compassionate about migration, and I see migration as a positive issue and a positive thing in the world, simply because through migration happens the interaction between humans and the transfer of knowledge and experiences, philosophies, religions, and attitudes as well. So, generally speaking, migration is something good. If talking about international migration nowadays, we're talking about like 250 million international migrants. The last statistics of the United Nations last year, they estimated total number of international migrants by 241. I believe the Syrian tragedy added to this. So comes my estimate of the international migrants as 250 million. 250 million means like the fifth largest country in the world if we group all international migrants in one country. Despite the fact that they comprise less than 4% of the total population, but because of the migration trends and migration flows are focusing on specific areas, this gives a sort of the political tension of migration and migration streams and migration trends all over the world. With respect to the gender composition of international migration, there is like 49% of international migrants are females. So here there is a sort of a gender balance between males and females in international migration in general. So this is just an introduction to know to talk about the situation in Eastern Mediterranean countries and as related to mainly to Syria, as I mentioned. In fact, we talk about like 250 million. We're talking about the all types of migration. So the voluntary or the what's called economic migration, as well as the forced migration. Also, we don't talk about the internally displaced persons who were forced to move inside the country because they are not considered as international migrants by the definition of international migration. The number of forced migrants has increased dramatically in the last few decades, simply because of the civil wars and the political conflict in specific places in the world. The estimate of refugees all over the world has reached 60 million last year, like in October 2015, which means that like 1/3 of the international migrants are refugees. This is the dark side of migration, and this is the problem that's been created by the political unrest and the civil wars in many countries, as I mentioned. In fact, the Eastern Mediterranean itself is a region for migration, starting from the forced migration of Palestinian citizens in 1948, the first wave, and after the Six-Day War, the 1967 war, also another stream of exodus of Palestinians from their historical land. So, and this resulted in like 6 million, roughly speaking, 6 million displaced or refugees, Palestinian refugees, who are residing in the countries around historical Palestine. So this region is a region of refuge and internal displacement, in fact. The recent crisis, the Syrian crisis, added to this, and the idea of having a victimized region and a region for displacement. The recent crisis in Syria started, in fact, this March 2016 witnesses the 5th anniversary of the Syrian crisis. The Syrian crisis actually is part of what's known by the Arab Spring. Started in Tunisia in January 14, and then Egypt followed on January 25th, and then Libya on February 17th, and so on. And there were also echoes of what happened in these countries in other countries, like in Yemen and like also in Bahrain, but it's an incomplete, fortunately maybe, an incomplete wave of what's called Arab Spring. So this is actually the other countries, like the first countries like Egypt, Tunisia, they started to find their ways. There are many problems, but there's still hope for positive change. Libya is a catastrophic case. Yemen is the file is still open. Syria also is an open file since March 2011. The 5-year, the very prolonged political instability in Syria caused a lot of problems for this country, this small country, 24 million inhabitants, the estimate of the population of Syria. Sadly, like more than 50% of the population now are either refugees or internally displaced persons. as I mentioned, statistical overview here is just a sketchy statistical overview because of the fact that the issue is still evolving. So if we talk about refugees first, refugees mean they crossed the international borders and to seek assistance from other countries. So here we're talking about like almost 5 million refugees. My statistics for 1 month ago, the number was like 4.5. So in 1 month, the number has increased by 0.3 million. Turkey has the largest refugee population originating from Syria, like 2.7 million. I think the number is a bit exaggerated because of the second step or the second migration or the migration of Syrians themselves from Turkey to Europe, but still this could be the number of Syrians who entered Turkey. The second largest country of destination of Syrian refugees is Lebanon. Lebanon hosts like 1 million Syrian refugees. Lebanon is a very small country, geographically and population-wise. Number of Lebanese in Lebanon is like about 4 million. So we're talking about more like the equivalent of 25% of the population entered Lebanon as refugees, which is really a very high burden that even the international aid agencies can't deal with easily. The first destination actually of refugees was Jordan, especially for the southern governors of Syria. Jordan also is a small country, like 10 million inhabitants, including Palestinians of 1948 and of 1967. So Jordan now has like 0.6 million Syrian refugees, and they have the largest refugee camp, Zahri camp, in northern Jordan. Iraq also, the fact that Iraq receives refugees and also a sending country for refugees. They were in Syria actually before and Turkey and other countries. So Iraq has like a 250,000 of Syrian refugees. Maybe because of geographical proximity, number of Syrian refugees in Egypt is very low, like 118,000. This number was 1 month ago was like 133,000, which means that there are refugees who decided to leave to a third country, because I can't imagine that they return to Syria now. North Africa also hosts a few number of refugees, like 28. North Africa, by North Africa here I mean mainly Tunisia, Morocco, and Jordan. So we're talking about a huge population actually. 5 million is not a small number. And compare the 5 million to the 60 million, the global refugees, and add to them the 6 million Palestinians around Palestine. So we're talking about 11 million refugees out of the 60 million globally are there in the neighboring countries of Syria and Palestine. This is about the refugees. Refugees to Europe. Refugees actually 1 year ago started to go to Europe, mainly from Turkey and from other countries also, like Lebanon, through Cyprus and through the Greek islands. So the total number of refugees recognized in Europe is like 0.9 million. They increased gradually. They were like only 400,000, 0.4 million 1 year ago. In fact, the big circle refers to Bulgaria, not to Germany. Bulgaria hosts 0.3 million. Germany hosts 0.2 million, and other countries also bear the burden of hosting refugees. You can notice that the total number of Syrian refugees in Europe, in the 37 countries of Europe, the EU and the non-EU, are less than the total number of refugees in Lebanon only. Though they are causing all of these political debates. Well, the international law protects refugees because they are crossing international borders and they seeking refuge in other countries, so they have some entitlements. The problem is more severe with respect to internally displaced persons. Internally displaced persons means those who move internally, so from one governor to the other, from Aleppo to other countries, or from the hot points or hot spots that's been occupied by ISIS, Daesh, and other militant groups. So they move to other countries. They can't cross borders to seek international assistance. The total number of internally displaced persons in Syria is 7.6. So add the 5 to 7.6, you're talking about, as I mentioned in the beginning, you're talking about more than 50% of the Syrian population. The problem with IDPs, I mentioned that some IDPs from Syria move more than one step. So they move from one governorate and they go to other governorate, and then the situation deteriorates in the other governorate, so they move to a third governorate. They don't have any cover under the international law. They receive assistance from the international agencies, limited assistance in the international agencies. The humanitarian situation actually is very bad, and it is deteriorating simply because, first, this with respect to refugees and with respect also to the internally displaced, simply with respect to refugees, the evolving phenomenon that doesn't give the room for quick assistance from the international organizations. Also, the concentration of refugees in a few countries also add burdens to these countries, given the fact also that the countries of refuge like Jordan and Lebanon are very fragile countries, very small countries. They can't provide the basic amenities for those refugees, even with the assistance of the League of Arab States and the United Nations. Turkey also has beared a huge burden, hosting 2.7 million. And most of them are in camps close to the Syrian borders. So no way here to talk about women empowerment or education or just having the basic amenities and the health services for those people. So which means that the situation is very deteriorated. There are other attempts and other projects to provide education out of in the camps, and I think the camp people are more privileged than even those who are living in cities and within the population, because they can be provided a very low level of service. 2 minutes, so I jump to the conclusion. Okay. Anyway, so here we're talking about the very low development, just securing the basic abilities for the population. The way ahead, since we have only 2 minutes, they became 1 minute now. So the way ahead, we have only one way. We can't talk about anything. We can't talk about the return of refugees or even the return of internally displaced persons without tackling the root cause of this agony, the political conflict. Without resolving the political conflict, there will not be any solution for the internally displaced persons or the refugees in Syria. Thank you very much.